Good evening, everybody, and welcome to O'Rourke's Public House for the first Brian Kelly radio show of the 2016 season, presented by our very good friends at TireRack.com, the experts at TireRack.com. I'm Jack Nolan. Coach is on his way. He just finished taping a segment for the Scott Van Pelt show on ESPN. It'll be shown later on tonight, and I certainly don't have any issues with playing second fiddle to that, as I'm sure you won't as well. That will allow me to get some of our commercial obligations out of the way. First of all, we always want to welcome everybody listening on our South Bend flagship stations, our great partners here, WSBT, AM and FM. We really love having them on board, and we'd like to announce a new partnership. We have a new flagship in Chicago, ESPN 1000, and folks listening in Chicago will be listening tomorrow night between 9 and 10 Central Time. They've joined our list. Want to welcome back WXNT, 1430 AM down in Indianapolis, WJRW, News Talk 1340 up in Grand Rapids. They always take our show live, and they've been big Brian Kelly fans since his days at Grand Valley. Want to welcome KCRD FM in Dubuque, Iowa, KOMJ Boomer 1490 AM radio in Fremont, Omaha, Nebraska. Cornhusker country. They run the Brian Kelly radio show, and KASR FM, 92.7 FM down in Little Rock, Arkansas. So our reach is far. You can watch us live and then watch us on tape later on Watch ND. We now stream the show live on Facebook, an even easier way to get the show each and every night. And, of course, you can listen to podcasts, both on the podcast portion from Watch ND and on iTunes. We also want to welcome a new sponsor. Norfolk Southern Railroad is our new sponsor, and Norfolk Southern wants you to make the next game slow down, look both ways, and never try to beat a train. Cross railroad tracks carefully, get home safely. To learn more, go to tracksarefortrains.com. And, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the head coach of the Fighting Irish, Brian Kelly. Coach, how are you? I let him know you had to chat with your good friend Scott Van Pelt a little bit. And, I mean, that national publicity's a good thing, helps recruiting.
Well, it does. And, you know, obviously we don't have a media day, so a national media day. So anytime we can do a little bit of, ESPN and some of the other networks, it's a good thing. But we made it. Good to have a nice crowd. Back at it again. It's football season, so it's a good time of year.
And I actually do like this show. I mean, your first season, it was all you every show.
Yep.
And then you decided that was too much you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
overexposed.
No one can talk to me for 12 straight hours as it was at that time throughout the season. But tonight, we always start the season with just you, so the players can focus on the first game. And really, they kind of have to earn their way onto the show as well, and they haven't played yet.
Right.
But let's start with the open-ended question. Give us your state of the team as you head into the Texas game.
Well, I think every opener is about the same. You know, there's uncertainties in the opener in terms of what you're going to get from the opponent. And, you know, obviously we know Texas has got a new offensive coordinator. They're going to be running a new system of offense. We're not sure, what their quarterback situation is. They're probably going to play two quarterbacks. So there's that uncertainty. Defensively, obviously they made a lot of strides last year, but they're playing some young players as well. So I think the first quarter for us is kind of a bit of a sparring match in a boxing analogy of finding out, what Texas is going to do, and then add a number of new players on our team, and let's find out what they're going to do on the road against a very good team and 100,000 fans that are obviously going to be partisan Longhorn fans. So a lot of uncertainties. And you want to really make sure that when you go into a game like this, that your team maintains their poise early on. And if you do that, get settled in, then the game starts to come to you.
I know one of the scariest things for a head coach, especially in the first game, is youth. And I was reading a preview article from a Texas writer saying how hard it was for them to replace the 7 starters they lost off last year.
Yeah.
You only returned 7 starters.
Yeah. And,
You're young.
We're a young team, and then, you look at the wide receiving core, the player that has the most starts of any wide receiver is our starting Sam linebacker, James Anawalu. James started 2 games for us when he was a wide receiver before we moved him over to defense. So that'll tell you how inexperienced we are at wide receiver when the starting Sam linebacker has got more starts at wide receiver than Torrey Hunter. So we got some young guys. But, that's when you're talking about, are you rebuilding or are you reloading? We think that these are really good players. And it's just a matter of settling into the game, and they're going to have to make some plays for us. But the nice part about it is that we've got a good nucleus around this group.
Now, everybody wants to talk about the quarterback. They always want to talk about the quarterback.
Who wants to talk? Nobody wants to talk about the quarterback, do they?
We got a few in here as well. Well, both teams right now, fan base is wondering who's going to start. Charlie Strong says whoever starts is going to stay in the game the whole way. We'll see if that happens for them. You've already said both of your guys are going to play, and I guess the great thing is I think you're one of only 5 or 6 teams in the country that has a pair of quarterbacks coming back who beat Power 6 teams last year.
Pretty good. I mean, I think if you look at both of these guys, they have skill sets that are a little bit different, but both of them are quite capable of moving the football down the field. So, look, the easy way is to go, there's a number 1 and there's a number 2. That's the easy way to do it. This is my 26th year being a head coach. I'm taking the harder route, and the harder route is to play them both and then to kind of figure it out as we go. And I think we're capable. I think the staff is capable, and we're all capable of figuring it out as we go, because we're going to need both of them, especially in an opener with a lot of inexperienced players. Why not get 2 playmakers on the field? And a lot of people would say, well, the other side of that is, what about the rhythm of the quarterback? Who cares about the rhythm of the quarterback? Let's forget about the rhythm of the quarterback. They can put that aside, and let's think about winning the game and getting 2 playmakers on the field.
And you just told the media a little while ago that you actually have worked with the quarterbacks in practice on not having rhythm, on producing without having multiple consecutive snaps.
Yeah, so, normally you'd go into a practice and the first, let's just take these 2 guys, for example. They would split reps. In other words, one would get 4, the other guy would get 4, 4 and 4. For the last 10 days or so, Malik would get 1 rep, and then Deshaun would come in and get 6 reps. And then Malik would come in and get 4, and Deshaun would get 2. And so we're varying it up so they don't, get into a rhythm per se. They've got to be ready to go if they just take 1 snap or 6 snaps. And they've handled it quite well. They're used to it, and they'll have to adapt to it, because that's what's called on for them to be successful in the offense that we want to run.
Clearly, offense, very, very important. I know it's a cliche, but the thing I find about cliches after all these years is a lot of them are true. That's why they're cliches.
That's right. They stand the test of time.
Yeah, you win championships with defense, and I know you feel really good about the 3rd year of your defensive scheme under Brian Van Gorder.
I do. I mean, look, we've gone through an evolution of change relative to where we were defensively with Bob Diaco and a 3-4-2 gap, cover 2 defense to, a multiple defense of 3-4, 4 down, different fire zones, cover 1, 3, a variety of different coverages. And so we've settled into what our system is. Our guys are very familiar with it. They trust it. And you can see that in the way we play. Fundamentally, our guys are in much better position. They're learning what to do without having to think about it, and that's the biggest thing, right? You go out there and you've got to react defensively, and you can't be thinking about it. And you can sense it and feel it when they're out there now. They're just running around and playing the game instead of thinking about the game.
I know the media has been asking a little bit. I know some people probably read a little bit about it, about the speed package on defense. Now, you've been recruiting speed since you got here. So talk a little bit about what you mean by that. It's not just that you're putting fast players on the field.
No, you're adapting to the offenses. Look, we're playing a Big 12 opponent, and everybody knows the Big 12 is one that spreads the field and is generally in 4 wides and 5 wides most of the time. For example, TCU, who played Texas, played virtually in a no-back set the entire game. And so when we talk about a speed package, you don't need, 3 300-pounders up front. Matter of fact, you got to take those guys off the field. So you're changing personnel to adapt to the offenses. And Texas is going to play an upbeat, no huddle tempo that we have to match with guys that can go and go quickly. So that package has been employed to match who we're playing. And again, I think we're in a pretty good position with the kind of guys that we've recruited to fit our scheme.
We have lots of questions from our big audience here at O'Rourke's. We have lots from various social media. We're going to try to get to all of them. But before we do that, we're going to take our first break. You're listening to the Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House, presented by the experts at TireRack.com. Welcome back to the Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House, presented by our good friends at TireRack.com, and the experts at TireRack.com also present all of our questions. We'll get right to them. Melissa Kovath from South Bend is here. Coach, who was the most improved player from last year, in your opinion?
Boy, there's a number of them, I think. Let's see. If we look on the offensive side of the ball, I think there's probably a couple of guys that stand out. First of all, Sam Mustafer at center. You know, he's going to start for us, replacing Nick Martin. That would probably be the first guy that I would look towards. Defensively, you're going to really enjoy watching Niles Morgan play. You know, I think those two guys, you know, right down the middle of your offense and defense. I think you start in baseball that way. I think in football, in a large degree, you know, you start that way as well.
And when you talk about Niles, again, and you didn't use the term in this show, but you've used it with me before, and I love it, unconscious competence.
Yeah.
You have to not have to hesitate. When I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, he said, look, I wasn't ready to run this defense last year. It's not an easy defense.
Yep.
And Schmidt understood it so much, even if he wasn't as quick as Niles, he was quicker on the field. But now Niles, he really gets it, and he feels confident that he can get it done.
Well, what really stood out for me with Niles is his ability to hold other players to a high level of accountability for the defense. It's one thing to know the defense, but when you start barking at other players to do their job, then you know as a coach, you know, when you're watching him play, this guy's got a real good handle on what's going on.
And he really is the quarterback of the defense. When I asked him, what's your job? He goes, I have to make sure everybody's in the right position, both in front of him and sometimes behind him.
Yeah, I mean, that happens as well. Certainly, you know, he's a guy that has to, you know, get it all together. He's getting the sideline calls and making sure that they're echoed across. And if there is any confusion, he's got to make sure that we get into something that makes the entire defense work, and he's done a nice job.
Michael Lenich II here from South Bend. Does playing on Sunday versus Saturday change routines that the team does, or is it basically business as usual?
No, the routine, you know, we try to take the routine and use the same one and take the days of the week out, right? So today is working Wednesday for us, even though, of course, it's a Thursday. So tomorrow will be perfect practice Thursday. So we duplicate the routine, even though the days are a little bit different. I think where you really see the effects is the next week, because we won't get back until about 4:30 in the morning on Monday. And now we're right into our preparation for Nevada. So it's important that when we get back that we get the proper rest so we can come back and get back into the routine for preparation for Nevada. So I'm not concerned for Texas. It's the following week is where we really have to do a great job.
And you talk about today's practice. I really love great kickers, and anybody listens to our postgame show, whenever I have a real football player on, running back, defense, they all say kickers aren't real. I like them, and I love the way your practice ended today. You have two really good kickers that are going to make differences in games this year.
Yeah, Tyler Newsome has been punting the football. We thought that, and if anybody saw the spring game, you know, he was outstanding in the way he punted the football in flip field position. But today we finished up. We have a drill called 88s, which is a tempo drill. It goes really fast. Our guys aren't crazy about it because it's pretty taxing. And we challenged Justin Yoon at the end of practice to come out and kick a 52-yard field goal, and if he made it, there would be no 88s. It was a bit breezy out there, and 52 was outside his range last year. His range went up to the 48-yard line. We felt that at the 48, that was his cliff. In other words, that's as far as we would push him, and then we would bring in Tyler Newsome for anything past 48. He kicked a 52-yarder today. The guys didn't have any 88s, and they went off the practice field with him on their shoulders. So it was a pretty good way to finish practice.
Well, and he made it by he had the win, but he made it by at least 5 yards. So
yeah,
it was a good kick.
They thought it was a good kick.
Nathan Sagan's here from Granger, Indiana. Coach, do you ever speak to the opponent's coach the week of the game?
No, unless you're on a teleconference, you know, for bowl games. That's the only time that I've talked to an opposing coach. Or if there's, some kind of, situation that arises with film where you didn't get the film or something like that. It's very rare that you would talk to the coach of the opposing team unless there was a snafu. I remember when I was in Division II at Grand Valley State, there'd be many times where you exchanged film hand to hand. It was old VHS tape, and we'd go to set up the exchange, and the other team wouldn't show up at the exchange, so I'd find myself on the phone the next day or that morning with the coach from the other team, and they go, I don't know where he went. He probably fell asleep or something. So other than that, we never do that.
Gary Lazor is here from South Bend. Coach, what can we expect from Notre Dame special teams this year?
More of the same. We had a really good year. We were ranked nationally in a number of the areas that were attributable to the kind of success that you need, and I think we're going to be much of the same. I think we've got some really good players on our special teams. We returned a kickoff for a touchdown, a punt for a touchdown. We blocked a punt for a touchdown. I think more of the same. I think we talked about the two kickers. I think we have the personnel to really impact every game we play.
Is part of that just the depth that you have built on this team from recruiting? Because you've never been hesitant to put starters on those teams, but you don't want all the starters on all the teams. So you've got a lot of talent behind the starters now, too.
I think we have a lot of guys that didn't play last year that are going to get their chance now to really show themselves. You look at there's probably a half dozen guys from Miles Boykin all the way down, to a number of the corners and safeties that, are going to play but maybe not significant roles early on that will really shine on special teams for us. Good depth.
All right, Barb M's here again from South Bend. Barb, where are you? Raise your hand. Can we see you, Barb? Anybody see Barb? There she is. There. Well, it's another year, Mr. Kelly, and here I am back at O'Rourke's on my birthday. Everyone will be asking you questions about the team and such. I just like to know, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I got a haircut the other day, each year, I think as a football coach, if you make it 26 years, you're doing way better than most. So every year they renew my contract and let me come back another year. That's a good year for me.
Well, I mean, you'll slap me. You're not resting on your laurels. But this is your 7th season at Notre Dame. Everybody knows the name of the last guy that made 7 seasons, and it was a long time ago. It's not easy to be successful here and get past that 5th year.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, it's not only just Notre Dame and what comes with Notre Dame, but it's a very competitive, business now. I mean, it's not like it was 15, 20 years ago where, there were only 20, 25, 30 schools that invested in the way college football is and having universities invest in them now. I mean, everybody's putting money into it. You got about 15 schools right now that are going all in to try to get into the Big 12, So it's that kind of all-in philosophy that college football has right now that has changed dramatically from 20 years ago.
We're going to go to social media for some questions in our next segment, but first, this time out, you're listening to the Brian Kelly Radio Show live from O'Rourke's Public House.
If your saving for retirement approach involves the phrase, I'll get around to it someday, Edward Jones can help. When it comes to meeting your goals, time can be on your side, and there's no better time than now to get started toward your retirement goals. Edward Jones Financial Advisors can help. To learn more, contact your Edward Jones Financial Advisor, Matt Wilson in South Bend or Pablo Rodriguez in Granger. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
This Labor Day, for one day only, save 40% off parts at LKQ Pick Your Part in South Bend. Radiators, shock absorbers, strut assemblies, brake discs, fuel pumps, control arms, O2 sensors, ignition coils, headlights, power window, power lock assemblies, engines, transmissions, all 40% off the already low prices at LKQ Pick Your Part this Labor Day only. 1,000 cars to pull from. A free computerized search matches your parts needs with compatible model years. LKQ Pick Your Part in South Bend. Cash for cars and quality recycled auto parts guaranteed.
The difference between a to-do list and a must-do list is simple. Because with big savings at your Chesterton or Granger Pella window and door showroom, you must act now. Save 40% off installation on qualifying projects or special financing. Certain restrictions apply. It starts by scheduling a free in-home consultation with a Pella design professional, so don't miss out on this limited time deal to save big with Pella. Offer ends September 22nd. Call 1-877-98-PELLA. That's 1-877-987-3552.
Summer is humid, hot, uncomfortable. But if it's like that on the inside of your home, then call Legacy Heating and Air for a new Daikin air conditioner for as low as $54 a month and up to $2,500 in instant rebates and local utility incentives on select systems. Get 12-year parts and labor warranty on select Daikin models, and all systems come with a 2-year worry-free maintenance plan. Go to LegacyHeatingandAirInc.com.
Legacy Heating and Air, the home of the on-time guarantee. For your service, call us free.
A Cook family business.
South Bend Symphony tickets for the 2016-2017 season have officially gone on sale. The South Bend Symphony is going to bring unforgettable music choreographed by various South Bend Symphony conductor candidates. Hear world-renowned pianists along with talented musicians play all your holiday favorite songs. Call the Morris box office today at 231-9190 for ticket purchases. If you buy single tickets from now until Friday, you will receive 10% off your order. Hurry to the Morris box office to purchase your South Bend Symphony tickets today.
First, fast and accurate. This is WSBT South Bend.
WSBT News and Sports Radio.
Welcome back to the Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House. We're reminding you that Tire Rack is the presenting sponsor of the Brian Kelly Radio Show. And like the Irish, they know a thing or two about passion and performance. Their on-site test track is their playing field, and they've got a playbook that includes precisely what you need. Get your tires right at TireRack.com. Find, deliver, install smarter. They're on the west side. In fact, I know you'll be stunned, but I was riding my bike the other night. I still try to exercise every now and then, and they were having basically races on their test track where people obviously had come from all around the country. It was really pretty interesting. So we got a bunch of social media questions for you. Frank Paderek tweeted at us, if one of the quarterbacks struggles, what are the chances they stick with one quarterback instead of rotating? So I guess he wants to get into your head about how you're going to do this on Saturday.
Yeah, right. So we're expecting that both of them are going to have some patches of inconsistency. It's the opener. I mean, so that's a given that they're not going to be in midseason form. But together, both of them are going to play better than any one singular quarterback could play in an opener. So we kind of look at it as both of them together are going to play as well as anybody could play. So that doesn't really register with me because it's really about the play of both of them together.
Gerald Knight tweeted, with the unfortunate recent off-field distractions, how is the coaching staff keeping the rest of the team motivated for Texas? And I think this is an important question because while things get into the news media and they get hammered on over and over, the team is not affected the way maybe the fans think they are.
Well, look, our players understand when mistakes are made, and certainly a serious mistake was made by 5 or, in this instance, 6 individuals. And what you can't do is embarrass the university. And these guys know that, and all the other players know that as well. So it moves through its course. There's definitely a period of days there where they all feel like they let the university down, and they certainly let the football program down. But they move through it, and they have. And we elected captains. I think we got great leadership with the 4 captains that we have. The men that were involved in this are all going to be held accountable for their actions, and we want them to learn from their mistakes. So I think like anyone, I think these kids understand what they need to do to make sure that it never happens again, and as a team they do. But more than anything else, they go through the course like anybody else. There's a sense of coming together after something like this, and they've come together real strong.
And a sense I've gotten as well in talking with some of the players is it has reinforced for them how special it is to be a part of the Notre Dame football program, and that you have to make sure you don't put yourself in a situation where you could lose that. Yeah,
and sometimes, you hate to use these kind of, when you mentioned it earlier about cliches, but, it was a wake-up call, and a wake-up call to a number of them that, look, it's a privilege to be a member of the Notre Dame football team, and it's not a right. and you can lose that privilege at any time. And I think it reinforced that to them, and I know our players see it as such, and we're hoping that they'll remember that when they have the chance to make the right decision moving forward.
And also, I think reinforce that off the field, because you're a member of the Notre Dame football team, you're actually held to a higher standard than most of your classmates. Yeah,
well, I mean, if this happened to a student, you wouldn't hear about it, right? But you hear about it because they're student athletes. So, they have to recognize that they are under intense scrutiny, and they will be treated differently than the average student. And that's just what happens when you're a member of an athletic team that gets a lot of recognition.
Jude Seymour is a loyal listener, and he tweeted in this question, just wondering, as you get prepared to deal with this year's quarterback situation, two very talented guys, what have you learned from some past situations here with Dane Christ and Everett Golson and the other places you've been at? Because you've had multiple quarterback situations, not only at Cincinnati, but a lot of places where you've coached.
Each one is different. They're not all the same. Each quarterback has different, traits. This one is quite different in that they're both really, they're very, very good quarterbacks, and they both can lead this team. So I've had times when, the quarterbacks, I've had two quarterbacks, but they weren't at the same level as these two. These are the two finest quarterbacks that I've had as a tandem. So this is I had two really good ones at Cincinnati, and they both were really good players, but they weren't at the caliber of these two players. So it's a different dynamic, and these guys could start for virtually anybody in the country. So the dynamic is a little bit different.
I know my expectation as a layman coming in was that Deshaun would be the starter. Mm-hmm. And then I think I've been to 9 practices now. Before this team even left Culver, I didn't know how you were going to make the decision, because not only do I think Deshaun picked up where he left off and he got better, but boy, did Malik come back from that injury. They both played so well, I didn't know how you were going to make the decision.
Well, you would just have to pick one, to be quite honest with you, because we did everything. We took all the numbers, we broke down all the stats, and what it really came down to is when it was team time, 11-on-11 team play, and it was tackle, both of them scored touchdowns. They scored touchdowns with the first offense. When they went with the second offense, they scored touchdowns. Now, they did it differently, but they scored touchdowns. And so when you really evaluate, and both of them, not one of them, you could say, dipped at any time when it came to live football. And so I looked at it and said, this is impossible. You would just have to pick one, and I didn't want to pick one. It wouldn't be fair to the other guy, because then it would just be arbitrary that you're doing it. And you could say, well, let's just default onto what Deshaun did last year, and his body of work was excellent. But, Malik was pretty good when he got hurt. And one side of it would say, well, how does a guy not win his job? And then finally, what I didn't want, to be quite honest with you, is that Deshaun went in for a series and had a bad series, and the entire Notre Dame Nation started asking, well, why isn't Malik in there?
Or
right?
vice versa.
Or vice versa, because you've got a great quarterback right there. So this eliminates that in the first game. And now let them go on the field, and we'll figure it out when they get on the field.
Now, you told them the night before the local media day, and neither quarterback was very happy the next day. I actually like that, because you don't want them to be happy that they're not starting. But since that time, I also have seen both of them, they still want to start, but both of them really getting on board with the situation.
They know the situation. I mean, no, they weren't at first, didn't feel like that was where they wanted to be. They both want to be the starter. I get that, and I was prepared for that. But they both understand that they're both going to play, and they know that this thing is not going to end with an arbitrary decision. They're going to have to go play it out on the field, and if they can work together and we can have both of them be on the field to help this team win, and that's the best situation, they'll do what's best for the team.
You put what it means to play here in some of the best perspective that I can remember in all the years I've been here, when Jerron Jones had the injury last summer, about that this is a Broadway show. It's a Broadway play. You don't need to have year after year of success for that next level, which is what all your guys want to do. And it's the same thing with the quarterback. They're not going to be judged about who starts. They're going to be judged on how they play.
No question. And you could be, the second quarterback at Notre Dame, but when you get your opportunity to go out there and you put it together, it doesn't matter what I think of them. It's what others think of them. And if they believe that they are, a franchise quarterback, they will be evaluated as such. So as long as they get the opportunity to go out there and play before a number of different people, not only their fans, but others that can evaluate them, they're in a good position.
One more Twitter question before we take our next break. Jamie Ackland tweeted, how do you make sure the team gets off to a fast start on the road at Texas?
Well, you always want to get off to a fast start. Sometimes the opponent has something to do with that as well. Look, most of the times it's about getting, a good routine, getting some rest, and making sure that that you don't play hesitant. You go on the road with the mindset that, you can't wait for things to happen. You got to go make them happen. And I think I've always said that, getting off to a good start is important. We talk about it all the time, is start fast. And so we'll continue to preach that, to start fast.
You often preach, too, what a great feeling it is to shut down the opposing crowd on the road. But the president of the Notre Dame Club of Austin claims he thinks there's going to be 20,000 Notre Dame fans in the stands on Sunday night. This is the first sellout under Charlie Strong. If there's 20,000 folks there, and I know some of them are watching and listening right now, how can that help your team when there is a sizable group of people in the stands who are supporting them as well?
Oh, it'd be outstanding. It'd be, something that we could feed off of as a football team, that, if we have that kind of turnout in Texas's home stadium where they're honoring the 2006 national championship team, that would be, obviously something for a lot of the guys that haven't been to Clemson or they haven't played on the road at USC. That would be certainly something that they could hang their hat on.
All right, next week we'll also be taking questions off of Facebook as well, but that's our social media question segment for tonight. We've got a bunch more questions from our great crowd here at O'Rourke's, and we'll get to more of those questions right after this time out. The Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House, presented by the experts at TireRack.com. Welcome back to the Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House. Great crowd here tonight. Now remember, when it's a home game, get here early.
Yes.
Because they're out in the street for the home games, which we'll have one next Thursday before the
3 weeks.
Nevada
We'll be
game.
3 weeks in a
3
row.
straight weeks.
Yeah, big, great home schedule. Weather's going to be great. I checked on the weather, too.
That's good. Well, it's September. It usually is here. Is that an advantage for Team Notre to get into that home field rhythm for 3 straight weeks?
Oh, absolutely. And for us, being on the road for a few weeks at the end of last year and obviously the stadium, really starting to take shape and form, it'll be exciting for us to be home for pretty much the month of September.
You've always been good on the road. Do you like having home games early? Because it does give you a little advantage in getting off to a good start, and that's so important in college football.
The weather's good. The guys are in a great frame of mind, and I think it's really good to have those early home games.
Now, Nicholas Kovac is here from South Bend. He wants to know which road game you're most excited for.
Texas road
Next
game.
one.
Absolutely. The opener is always the one that, you want that game to, set the table, if you will. You want to win all your games, but it's exciting because it gives you something to work on. We're at that point now where, you can only add so many more things to your offense, defense, and special teams. You want to start working on your players individually, and you can only do that after a game.
And this is going to be a tough game. I know fans think of last year, and they project to this year. Some of the national commentators, not that they know anything, some folks are starting to pick Texas. But either way, this is going to be a difficult game to win. Because they're going to be better than they were last year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we know that. I don't think any of our players are going into this game overconfident. Some of these guys are not even going to know how to put their shoulder pads on the right way. We're going to have to help some of these guys. They haven't played, in these kinds of games. So, I don't sense it at any time. I have not sensed a group that is overconfident. They are so focused on the job that they need to do and how to do it more so than, what we did last year. All those guys are gone, and so, we had 8 guys go to the NFL and all those NFL guys are gone. They're not in the front row anymore. So, they don't look at it in those terms.
Mike Williams is here, as always, from South Bend. Coach, doesn't seem like you have had many injuries this preseason as compared to the last couple. Was anything done differently from past years, or are we just luckier?
Well, we'll always take luck, but we worked really hard. Sports science, strength and conditioning, athletic training, coaching staff. It was a concerted effort all the way around. It was an investment in time. It was an investment financially. Jack Swarbrick was instrumental in helping us put together really a successful team that has effectively, you're never going to eliminate injuries, but have effectively cut back on our injuries. We go into tomorrow's practice, which effectively will be our last practice before our walkthrough, with one injury through that entire 29 days of practice. Micah Treadway with a broken foot, which he got running from one field to the other. So I think that's pretty good. Another thing we cut down on, we had 0 concussions in 29 practices. 0. So, when people talk about safe tackling, we've implemented that. We've changed the way we use certain drills, and the way we're running our practices they're still physical, they're still demanding, but I think all of those things together have made it effective. They've made it safe, and have really cut back on all of those injuries.
And there's a lot that goes on in one of your practices, any football practice for that matter, but yours are high tempo, and it's even hard for position group coaches to keep track of each player because they might be with this group one thing, they might be with special teams, they might be over with another group, and you've really embraced technology. And I love the fact that you've got GPS chips now that many of the players wear, and you've even tied that to some cameras, so you can not only get the GPS data, but you can actually tie it to the player on video and see exactly what they're doing in practice.
Yeah, so we have about 50 players wearing GPS monitors throughout the entire practice, which allows us to find out what their intensity mode or their repetition and intensity is through the entire body of practice. And if we feel like they have put too much intensity or too much workload on, we can change their workload. Also, we have 3D cameras now, so we're getting three-dimensional cameras where our guys can now put on 3D goggles and watch their practice film in 3D, which allows them now such a better recognition of their opponent in practice film. So a lot of that technology is an investment that we've made. Our sports science, Duncan French, has done an incredible job of monitoring it and putting it together. Our strength staff has been great. Paul Longo and his staff and Jeff Quinn and Jake Flint have done incredible work. Just taking that over, from a strength and conditioning standpoint. Every day, you think they're lifting weights, but Jake's out there, making sure that the right people have the GPS on and who doesn't have one, and it's been a concerted effort, and it's worked out really well.
And of course, he never misses
Jake
a radio
his
show.
whole family. This is the one family night too. They're all here tonight.
They're all here. They usually rotate the beautiful daughters, but they're all here tonight.
Somebody had a birthday too, I think.
And even at 5 years old, they're on their phones. 6.
It's Beth's phone.
Oh, okay,
probably.
but she's still on the phone. She's just gravitating to the phone. I'm still trying to figure out how mine works. Well, you know that on these shows when the players are here, we usually run a thing we call the 60-second drill. Well, there's no players tonight, so Coach has agreed to run.
I kind of agreed.
The 60-second drill. We'll see how he does right after this timeout. It is the Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House, presented by the experts at TireRack.com. Tonight's Brian Kelly Radio Show is brought to you by TireRack.com. And while we're talking running, passing, and kicking, the experts at Tire Rack have cornering, traction, and performance of a different kind on their minds. That's why you'll be able to get your tires right at TireRack.com. Find, deliver, install smarter. All right.
Before we go, who makes me smarter is my recruiting office is over here. Aaron Kearney, Grant Apgar, who's in our graphics arts, who does an incredible job. Our ambassadors are right over here in our office right here. Raise your hands, please. They're our recruiting office right here. They make me smart because they help us get really good players. I'm a good coach with good players. I don't know if you guys recognize that at all. So they help us get really good players. So thanks for being here.
Well, and they are doing such a great job, and I know you omitted him. He's well compensated, but Mike Elston has taken over.
Mike's done a good job
coordinating that, and you've really embraced the social media aspects of it. And even last year, you got so much response from the Showtime series, and it really showed people what the players were like. But that didn't necessarily reach your core audience, and now you've got to deal with Bleacher Report. I mean, you're aiming at people that don't have hair like mine.
Well, the Bleacher Report piece has been it's been really well. It's been one that we've had to work together with them because obviously we have a piece obviously that we want to use through our recruiting office as well. So that Laura Thomas, she does a great job, but she has to work with Bleacher Report. Some pieces that they do and we work together. It's been a collaborative agreement, but they reach so many people, so many millions that are on that platform. So the relationship with Bleacher Report's been really strong.
I know yesterday they posted a terrific piece on a few of the players at Culver. They couldn't do it now, just riding a flyboard and showing how much fun they were having down there. And really, I know Lou Holtz first went down there in the 90s. You've been going down there now. A couple of your children attend down there. It's a wonderful place to work out, great facilities, but it's also a beautiful place. It's a place
really
where people
is.
can unwind when you get away. So I think it's not just to come together, but I think it shortens the rigors of August practice by being down there.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, it's a beautiful facility. I think when it was used with Coach Holtz, it was kind of like the Junction Boys, They
went down there for 12 days.
It was 12 days. It was hot, and we've heard some stories.
There were no fly boys.
There were
a lot of two-a-days.
Yeah, exactly. And there were great facilities, and so it's a nice breakup for the guys.
All right. I'm going to go easy here, but here's Coach in the 60-second drill. Favorite all-time movie?
Favorite all-time movie? I'd probably say Hoosiers.
Okay. I don't know if you get any time to watch anything but football on TV, but do you have a favorite TV show now or in the past?
Hogan's Heroes.
I used to watch that growing up.
I like that movie. I like that.
What's your favorite breakfast meal?
Like a egg sandwich, egg and turkey sausage sandwich.
Tastes good. I eat anything that's turned into a sandwich.
Sandwich, any kind of sandwich.
Sandwiches are good. Get up early or sleep in?
Most of the time early, but I'm easily swayed to sleeping in.
So given a choice, get up early or sleep in. You didn't have to get up.
Sleep in easily.
Best nickname on the team, or in this case, if you want, the coaching staff, and who has it?
Best nickname.
Team or coaching staff. I don't know if any of your coaches have nicknames, or if you've given any of them nicknames.
On the coaching staff?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. On the team that you're aware of, best nickname, or one you've given a player.
Most of it, I usually call him as knucklehead or dummy. Dummy usually is the one that resonates.
I've heard knucklehead before. I know you got to travel a little bit this year. You got to go to the Vatican, got to go to Italy. I mean, football coaches get to travel a lot in the U.S. You don't get overseas a lot, but right now, place anywhere in the world you would like to visit if given the chance.
Anywhere in the world. Where haven't I been? Probably, I'd say, somewhere in the South Pacific. An island in the South Pacific. Right?
I think, Pocky, you want to go to South Pacific?
Sound good?
You go with him?
She said she'd go.
She's going to go. That's good. You better not go without
That's a good thing that
Yeah.
she's going.
Where is your favorite place on the Notre Dame campus?
Oh, boy. There's so many great places, but for me, and I know this sounds crazy, but it's just before you come out of that tunnel, just backed up in the tunnel, because it's with your team. It's that anticipation of coming out. I mean, I could stand there all day. It's better when you have a team with you, though. Standing there by yourself, it's kind of weird if I'm just standing there by myself. Like, what is he doing here? But standing there in that tunnel with your team, there's nothing like that.
I know they now do tours, and if you're watching or listening across the country, you can walk through the tunnel on a non-game day.
And I'm standing there?
No, you don't have to stand there, but we have a cutout of you.
Yeah, that's right, standing right there.
But I've seen grown men break down in tears when they get to do that.
It's awesome.
It really, and just
It
the way
really
the
is.
stadium opens up.
Put 85,000
unbelievable.
people in there. Think about that.
All right. We always ask one thing you always hear from Coach Kelly in practice. So one thing you always hear from Coach Van Gorder in practice.
Can't do it that way, rookie.
Assistant coach who was most like you.
Probably Coach Denbrock.
Okay. The players are saying that too.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go.
What were your thoughts
We've
when
been
you
together a long time, so I'm probably wearing off on him.
Well, I will know. I mean, the first 2 days down at Culver, I didn't hear you this year. I mean, you go back to your first year, all I heard was you.
Right.
But I heard Denbrock a lot. It seems like
Well, I have to give that up. I can't be overshadowing his voice and Mike Sanford, so I have to pick my spots, accordingly.
Is that a little more enjoyable for you not to have to constantly be the bad cop, so to speak?
Well, it allows me a lot more of an opportunity to work with the players, one-on-one, on some certain things. So it's helpful in that respect. You lose a little bit when it comes to, the football side of things, but you gain a lot more in building the other things that are very important.
From your perspective, who's the hardest hitter on this football team?
Niles Morgan.
Who's the toughest player to tackle on the team?
Toughest player to tackle is probably Josh Adams.
Best comedian on the coaching staff?
Best comedian is probably Mike Sanford's pretty funny.
All right. We'll hold him to that because I got a funny feeling he'll be on the show at some point.
Oh, he'll be on the show.
So
he's pretty funny.
I'll do something that's terrible. Be funny. It's hard to be funny on TV.
Yeah.
We'll
He
see.
won't be able to do it on.
Best dresser other than you on the coaching staff?
On the coaching staff, Todd Light.
Who's the worst dresser of the coaching staff?
The worst would probably. Oh boy, I got a couple of them.
There could be co-winners.
Yeah, I probably would have to go with. God, this is going to be hard. I can't do that. I can't. Seriously? No.
Getting prompted from
All right,
staff, family, and
I'm going to say now I have 19 coaches
Yes.
now, so it's hard to pick one. But I'm going to go with Greg Hudson.
okay. And I'm sure this will get back to Greg. All right. Real quick, we always end with this, and we're running out of time, but there's so many things. The best thing about coaching at Notre Dame?
For me, more than anything else, it's the players that I get a chance to coach under the expectations on a day-to-day basis. In other words, what they have to do both on and off the field is, and I don't think everybody truly understands what they have to do on a day-to-day basis in the classroom, off the playing field, on the playing field. I love the fact that we do things that no other universities do in terms of the balance of athletics and academics, and that's what makes it so special.
Coach, great answers. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this. We have had a great first show. We have 40 seconds left, so your quick keys to the Texas game.
Well, I think, first of all, as I mentioned, opening games, poise. Maintain your poise in the opener. Get settled into the game. Get this thing in the fourth quarter with a chance to win it, and we'll find a way to win.
Coach, thank you. Folks, thanks for coming out. Thanks to everybody watching locally and all around the world. 7:30 Sunday night. It's the only football game this Sunday night, Notre Dame and Texas. We're back here next week. Good night and go Irish.